XDRs. I'm Ken Newler, your host today on XDR and Sentinel, a roadmap to unified security operations. As organizations continue to evolve their cybersecurity strategies, the shift toward unified security operations is accelerating. Today, we'll guide you through Microsoft's latest advancements in Defender XDR and Microsoft Sentinel, helping you prepare for the transition to a unified security platform. This session is designed to help you navigate the transition confidently, optimize your security architecture, and make informed decisions about your Microsoft security investments and where Sentinel and XDR are going. With that, I'd like to make this a theme today. So why now? Why are we doing this? If you stay with us, I'm sure we'll be answering your questions as well as any questions that came in advance. So thank you for those questions. So with me today is Karsten Dew. Karsten is no stranger to this program. He's done many sessions in the past. He's been working in the industry for over 30 years with Microsoft products since 1994. He was part of our enabling cloud services in the late 90s and with an ASP in Norway before he moved to the US in early 2000. In 2006, Karsten joined Planet Technologies as a consultant and is now our managing architect for Azure and Endpoint. He spent the last decade around Microsoft Cloud offerings with an emphasis on teaching customers the cloud platform, along with ongoing projects that he works on daily. So again, like I said, Karsten's done a lot of these programs. He does a lot of our, he does a couple of our workshops that we do that we'll talk about at the very end of this program. So if you're interested in following up with Karsten or one of our workshops, please make sure you reach out to Kim. With that, I want to welcome Karsten to the program. Thanks for joining us today. We have a full agenda. So on today's agenda, we'll start off by giving an overview of Microsoft XDR and Sentinel and the Defender products. Then we'll discuss what we can feed into Sentinel for free, as well as other telemetry feeds and some tips on doing that. Next, we'll give an overview of Microsoft security operations and how this all fits together. Then we'll take a walkthrough of the new unified interface and discuss what's new in XDR and Sentinel. We will then discuss important items to know about concerning the changes that are coming next year. And then we will discuss how to prepare for migrating to the new unified interface. And of course, we'll save some time for questions. Like I mentioned, we had a couple in advance, and we'll definitely get to those towards the end of the program. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Karsten. Thanks for joining us, Karsten.
Thank you, everyone. Pleasure to be here. I'm glad to see so many people showing up. All right, so let's go ahead and start talking about what Microsoft XDR and Sentinel is and where it belongs in the ecosystem around your Office 365 tenancies. And also, let's not forget your environment that is outside of the tenancy, like your on-premise environment. So as you see from this graphic here, we have different defenders, and for example, with Microsoft 365, we have defenders per service per se. So there's defenders for identity, for endpoints, email, cloud apps, IoT, just to mention a few. And then the brother defender for services in Azure, Defender for Cloud, takes care of your workloads in Azure, IaaS, SaaS, or PaaS in Azure. What's important about Defender for Cloud, of course, is that it has the ability of reaching into other clouds. So it supports a multi-cloud monitoring and security posture abilities. And all of this natively can feed into Sentinel. And this is sort of where we have been working the last few years, is making sure that customer protects their workloads no matter where they are, and get that into Sentinel to create visibility across the organization. The Sentinel, of course, is capable of consuming logs, ingesting logs, storing logs, gives us the ability to work with logs and log data for detection, for automation, for prevention, for querying, and of course, retention. Sometimes we have requirements to retain our log data for a significant amount of time. This is all managed in Sentinel. Where XDR fits in all of this is that it starts putting a circle around all of this. And you might not know this, but under the hood in Sentinel, there's a correlation engine called Fusion. And that's where the magic happens. So Sentinel, when it was designed, one of the first or most important design criteria was to assist humans in navigating the enormous amount of events or alerts that comes into a scene. So it's one of the most cherished functionalities of Sentinel is, of course, the ability of creating an incident. It can group thousands of events into a single incident. Of course, taking a lot of time, freeing up time for the operators to focus in on the incident and what really matters, and not sit there and look through events and trying to make or build a picture out of that. The XDR comes with its new correlation engine, and that is probably the most significant shift in this. It picks up all the capabilities of Sentinel's correlation. There's also machine learning under the hood for XDR, as it was in Sentinel. But the new engine has a slightly different requirement per se. And we'll see that when we move on to the slides here, where Sentinel was built to cover the breadth or the width of the visibility. XDR is now also adding depth to the visibility. You can move to the next slide.
Before we move on, I just want to say that we've had 53% of the responses so far are people that are using XDR, and 30% are still evaluating. So for those who have not, XDR is a new term for you. Just in short, right? It's a comprehensive extended detection and response XDR platform that unifies security across multiple domains like endpoints, identities, cloud apps, and tries to provide a comprehensive protection against advanced cyber attacks. It leverages AI and automation to detect, investigate, and respond to threats across the entire attack chain, offering a holistic and efficient approach to security. I tried to look for an easier definition just to kind of summarize it for us. And with that, I'll go ahead and move to the next slide, Karsten. So it looks like we still have some folks that are still evaluating, and only a couple folks that have not really even gotten involved in XDR yet. Okay, there you go, Karsten. Tell us a little bit more about the Defender suite.
Absolutely. So if you're using Sentinel, you will recognize all of these products on the right-hand side as sources. Of course, Sentinel itself is not a source, but these are the capability sources for the unified version of our security management with XDR. So all of these sources are available natively to XDR, and includes all the regular defenders. And Sentinel is called out because what we will do, we will connect XDR with our Sentinel workspace. I'll talk a little bit more about the workspaces later. What's also important is that we need to remember to incorporate Defender for Cloud. If you use multi-cloud or Defender for Cloud for any security posture monitoring in Azure or multi-cloud, so AWS or Google Cloud, for example, we want to turn on Defender for Cloud as well, so and get that included into XDR. Perfect. You can move to the. Go ahead.
And just for, again, people knew the term workspace equates to log storage location, right? Something like, right?
Log analytics.
Log analytics, yeah.
So our log storage for our telemetry, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on the unified telemetry here a little bit. It's worth mentioning the free data sources. This is not changing. So whether or not you are using Sentinel or not, so these data sources are free to ingest. They are free to ingest and they're free to keep for 31 days. After that, we get retention costs or storage costs, and that's important to add into your overall assessment of using these tools. This is supporting the out-of-the-box connectors, of course. And this is also where we're going to look at that a little bit later as well. To leverage secondary workspaces, as you see in the bullet down there, second from the bottom there. What's important, and you will hear me come back to this a few times during this presentation, what you do with telemetry is key in how you use Sentinel and XDR. The telemetry, what is being collected, and where you send it is going to directly impact what you can get out of your SIEM. So there are very often a desire for maybe a department in a larger organization to run some of their own security tools, or maybe they want to run Sentinel of their own. The reason might be that central IT has, a closed off department for managing security and security logs and storing them, safeguarding them, all the governance that is expected to occur there. And this is possible to do, but it's not recommended. This is my words. So the recommendation is that we take all the telemetry, all the signals into a central single primary workspace, and then let SIEM and Sentinel or an XDR work on all your data, because the magic out of XDR and Sentinel is its ability to correlate. So, for example, a department might have some servers sitting on their own. Maybe, I don't know, let's say it's a health department within an organization that is not just health, right? So they want to safeguard the log sources around those servers. And this is great, and they can get all the telemetry there. They can use Sentinel isolated on a secondary workspace, right? And they can get some telemetry out of there. But in most cases, these type of departments, they're using the global identity source. In other words, identity from Active Directory or Entra ID. And that telemetry, or those signals, goes into the primary workspace. We rarely send telemetry to multiple workspaces. In Entra ID, you can send telemetry from Entra to 5 workspaces. That's a hard limit to my understanding. But without also giving a secondary workspace identity telemetry, we fail to achieve the correlation between what an identity performs and what happens on the device. And that's a very important distinction in this environment. Let's move on to the next slide here.
So the identity for devices, and identity and devices are the two most crucial logs to get into this central hub, right, for data collection. Now, you mentioned that this is free. Is it just, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I will. Is it free just for E5 users, or is it free for anybody in Office 365, roughly? Do you know?
This is free for anybody in Office 365. So Sentinel,
for 31 days, yeah.
For 31 days. So you have no ingestion cost or storage cost for up to 31 days in
That's
your
awesome.
Azure. Yeah.
Yeah.
The same is true if you don't use Sentinel, but only gather these signals with XDR. Right? So as soon as we pass 31 days and we start retaining things, that's where the meter starts moving. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about security operations next.
Yeah. So I like to have this image up here. It's very this one is kind of complex. The next one is even worse, but I like to showcase how Microsoft is positioning these various tools. As you see here at the bottom is all the signal sources. Unfortunately, there is a pop-up sitting there. It is
sorry about that.
it's part of my screenshots. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, so you see the various buckets of telemetry sources going from application information, identity. The two ones hidden there is identity and devices. and then the OIT, paths and infrastructure, and apps. All of this rolls up to the XDR layer, where we have also the various defenders for the first 5 areas of security telemetry. And of course, as you see, the app integration, the black branch on the left-hand side here, it can go to Sentinel. It can also be consumed by Splunk, for example, or QRadar. But where we're going to go with this is, if you advance one more slide, I told you the next one would be more complex.
Yeah, this one's even more of an eyesore.
Yeah.
But
so this is the Microsoft security ecosystem showed in the slide here. If you want access to this, on the links at the end of our presentation is a link to this presentation material. On top left here, you'll see Microsoft Defender XDR, and this is where XDR is logically positioned as of now. It's sitting up there. It has access to everything, and the latest connection that XDR does with Sentinel, that everything that goes into Sentinel now is available in XDR. And this has been the trend. We've seen it coming for a year plus in those portals, where most of us that's been working in Sentinel, we've been keeping track of what Microsoft is doing on the XDR side, and where it stands right now, it's fully integrated. And I'll show you a few examples of that here in a little bit. I want to, this is my little soapbox moment. We talked about identities and devices being the most important sources of telemetry. Of course, we want to know what a user does. We want to know what the device, what happens on the device as a result of what the user do. There is one aspect, and it's kind of hidden a little bit in Microsoft documentation. It's hidden in most Microsoft security presentations. And what was super important back then, I want to say 10 years ago maybe, was that Defender for Cloud Apps and what it was called MCAS back then. It was like the biggest thing since sliced bread for Microsoft for a while, and it kind of fell off the radar screen for a lot of people. It's a very important tool, and it provides very important telemetry, and it directly integrates with called UEBA, which is User Entity Behavior Analytics. That is currently, it's still being processed in Sentinel. It will also move into Defender XDR. So, in other words, shadow IT. What are those applications your users are using that you don't know about? We've all seen these stories about users across in organizations using Box for files, or Dropbox, or just to mention a few, right? Or sending company sensitive information using Facebook messaging, right? This tool is targeting that flat on, and it's super important. But what's also deeper inside of Defender for Cloud Apps is that this is where we can and should send our firewall and proxy logs into this ecosystem. When you see the last bullet up there, I think Ken was pointing at it, session monitoring and control. Inherent of that is the ability to take your local firewall, your on-prem firewall, and send those logs to MCAS. And now all of a sudden we can correlate not only on user and device, but also what sites they're accessing. So I don't think that needs more explanation how powerful that is, but it's very, very often overlooked, and it's buried way too deep in the Microsoft documentation. Ken, you had a comment on that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I've some customers are in Microsoft Cloud Apps. You can do sanctioned and not an unsanctioned apps, so you can kind of block the apps that you don't want them accessing if you go forward and actually implement that.
Absolutely, it gives you a full surface of that.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll see more. I think we should probably do an MCAS
Yeah.
session on its own. There's a lot of material in there, and it should be one of the tools in your tool belt. All right. So we're talking about XDR, and as you understand, there are things disappearing from what's happening with XDR. On the next slide, I'm going to show you that, but I want to make sure everyone understands. So Sentinel is still going to be there. Log Analytics and that primary workspace that we have normally with Sentinel, it's still going to be there because that is going to be, or still is, the ingestion surface for example, diagnostic settings. It's where we can take telemetry from I'm just trying to come off with something, a log source that doesn't have normalized data. AS400. I'll go to the worst thing I can think about. So it has its own, it has its own telemetry format. It has its own logging format, and we will have to reformat that at the time of ingestion. And this is something. This is where Sentinel comes into place. We'll still have a control over that. We will still have the ability to connect, sources that aren't directly supported from XDR and transform data coming in. This is also where we manage agents. So when we talk about Defender for Cloud, we want to use Arc Agent, for example, for servers on-prem to get security telemetry into this environment. That is also going to control on the Sentinel layer, more so on the workspace layer. So you're going to see that Sentinel is as a entity is probably going to dim out going forward, but log analytics and the workspace is going to be a central topic. This workspace, as I'm saying, so log analytics again, as we use in correlation with Sentinel today, is where we're going to manage long-time retention. I forgot to include it. I don't have the information exactly what the retention of XDR is. As soon as we started, I remember it. We can send it out when we share the material here. It's an important piece of information. The default retention with XDR for log retention. In the storage account or in the log analytics environment, this is where we can configure the retention. It's also where we can configure what type of data we want the data to be stored as archive data, as cold data, as hot data. So you can offboard hot data to put it into a cheaper storage tier, right? So exactly the same as before. And then back to the last statement here and the second bullet here about workspace access control. So Ken had asked me earlier to cover this a little bit. We often get the question from customers, and back to the conversation or the statement I made earlier about primary and secondary workspaces. We very often have, a primary workspace or a central workspace, and then there is requests from other departments, other parts of your business that wants to access this security telemetry. So in the primary workspace, in XDR, there are no easy buttons to share the access to this data. So in our experience, you have two options or three options if you want to break the data separation option into two methods. So the one option, one method, is to create an overlay either using Power BI or what's called workbooks in Sentinel. You can also use them in XDR. That for each workbook, you hard code a query that delineates devices and users that belongs to a department. It's a bit complex to set up, but it's workable. The reason we have even gone to this effort, we had a very large migration
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're bringing this up.
Yeah, we had a very large migration for a customer going from Splunk to Sentinel for a full state. And all the state agencies wanted access to their data. They want to be able to see their data. They wanted to be able to see how many incidents, security events, what type of incidents. So they had like 25 to 30 different data types that they, quote unquote, had to have access to. So we built an exfiltration system based on Power BI. We chose Power BI because it adds the ability to do access control right in Power BI. And created those, let's say 30 reports, where each of the agency can log in and do a query. So they got access to a live report that queried directly into the log analytics data. So that's possible. Again, it's complex, it's time consuming, and it's quite a bit of work to get it set up the way customers wants to see it. Then I want to just briefly mention the other method that I have seen at play. I actually been part of it myself. Is where someone that is not part of central IT, not part of the internal security organization, is allowed to go look at something. And that something is governed by agreements and contracts. And in my case, I had a contract with very explicit for what environments I was allowed to look at or extract logs from. And my job was on the line in that contract. If I touched anything, not only would I be out of there, I would probably have legal implications following me by breaking those contracts. So what I'm saying in short is it is possible to let your remote departments be trained, be certified, be allowed access to Sentinel XDR. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't see. Yeah. Ken, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, the use case obviously is a large shared service provider where agencies are running their own endpoint management systems, and they need to be able to see their data, right? Their logs, their incidents, and all this, and then work the tickets and stuff like that. So, it sounds like we've got some solutions from a reporting standpoint as well as a working solution here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, let's
and we put it in, and we've done both, so we know for sure that it works.
yeah.
So I think at this point you're going to tell us a little bit about what's changing, how the look and feel is going to change. You said Sentinel's still here, but it's the way in which you're going to access it's going to be different, right? So you're going to take over the machine now and show us a little bit about this and show us this single pane of glass that we've all heard about for years.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make this very quick and simple, not dig too deep into it.
Sure.
So Sentinel, as it stands today, this is our Sentinel interface, right? I had to zoom out a little bit so I can cover things on the screen here. And it has the normal things. Of course, it has the log interface, right? I'm going to run some queries there for you to see some of the most significant differences.
So this is how it is today if you go directly to Sentinel, right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
then on the flip hand side, if I go to XDR, so the Microsoft Defender or security.microsoft.com or .us, based on if you're government, this is your XDR view, and as you see here, this is Sentinel is already integrated here, and it's been here for some while. And I'm probably going to repeat myself a little bit, but this is available to everyone regardless of your Office 365 license. So if you go to security.microsoft.com or US, you will find Defender. And if you have Sentinel, you can connect Sentinel into XDR.
Even if you don't own the Defender products.
Even though if you don't own a Defender product. Now,
yeah. Okay.
We are assuming you have some log data going into Sentinel.
Yeah.
So the Defender products, of course, is in the Microsoft tenants the primary source of telemetry, right?
Right.
Yeah. So with this, I wanted to show you one thing. I talked about Sentinel being the breadth or width, right, of information. So into my Sentinel XDR environment, I have logs for Defender for endpoints, for example, or Defender for cloud. So I have device log on events. So if I run this query here, you'll see I get a lot of logins that is related to accounts or devices. And here's the device names up here. So my buddy Kevin has been logging into a domain controller doing some stuff. And then if I expand this, I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit so it's easier to see. And I'm going to see if I can cover more here. As you would expect from Sentinel, I get a lot of good information out of this. So if I go, for example, here, process, these are all static data entries, right? I can't really do anything about this. Now, what I can do in Sentinel, I can right-click and say, I want to filter for this process, or I want to exclude this process. So again, it's surface value. All the data is here. For a expert SIEM SOC operator, they know what to do with this. And very often, it's a matter of let's include this value, for example, into a new query. In other words, keep nesting. And a lot of the work happens either here, where you run queries, or you put it into hunting queries, or you add workbooks and you build a workbook that it's looking for maybe that particular process that we see is running on this server. So if I take this same query and I go into XDR, I had it open right here, and I run the same query here to allow this. All right. So I'm not gonna spend enough time to make sure I hit the same server. Maybe I do. Let's see if I find Kevin here. Yeah, sure. Find Kevin Pulaski here. I'm gonna zoom out here a little bit. See if we can get a little bit more data. Is this still okay to read, Ken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least on
okay.
my big monitor though.
Yeah. So let's go look at. We wanted to see something about these processes, for example, right? So maybe I was interested in. Let's change gear here. I'm interested in device. Just go back here and find your design here. Here's the device name, right? I don't have any visibility into what this device is. So what you're seeing here is that Sentinel actually it doesn't give you a way into this device. It tells you what it is, which is important. But if I'm here, now I'm in XDR, and this is where XDR goes into depth. Now I can click on this. I can go to that device, and I can open that device page. I'm staying in the same portal.
Yeah.
And this is huge for a SOC operator. They will typically have to go from Sentinel, switch into this portal, then I'm going to make this as difficult as it could be. Where is my devices? Sorry, here. Switch into devices, then go query for that device, right? And find it.
That's a step saver right there. Is just having this all in one. Yeah, it's huge.
So this is on a very high level what the difference between going into the XDR portal to use Sentinel, right? So I'm not going to dig any deeper into this, but I'm going to show you one thing here. So incidents here in XDR are incidents created by the new correlation agent in XDR. Some of these will come from Sentinel. You see here is 2 of them. And these are created, and this is something we're also going to mention at the end of this presentation here. You see, I have a scheduled detection running in Sentinel. And because we run that, it shows up as an incident here in XDR. And that happens because Sentinel is connected, of course, to XDR. But all of these other incidents here are correlated in XDR. But again, the sources are this one is Defender for Office 365, right?
Yep.
Or yeah, most of these ones that I have. I don't have any.
There's some
I don't
Sentinels
have
there
any
here too.
sexy ones, like really bad things happen. Yeah. So, but you see what I'm saying. So, yeah, those are the, like, on the surface, on the SOC operator level, the data is available in depth here. What I'm not showing you here, we do not have a Security Copilot running in this environment. And Security Copilot integrates directly with XDR. So if I, for example, just go back to that one incident real quick. If I open this incident up, if I had Security Copilot integrated with this, it would open up in this pane over here, and it would automatically, unless I tell it not to, give me a, hey, here, this is what is going on. This is a potential remediation, just coming out of the box without me asking for it.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. All right. I think that's good for the showing around.
right.
I hope this helps under showcasing the in-depth purpose of the XDR portal.
Perfect. And so if that was a little confusing, we're going to kind of wrap up everything that he just said on this slide about all the benefits of what we just saw, right, Carson?
Absolutely, at least a high level.
Yeah.
So in XDR, as I showed you, Sentinel is already there. There's nothing to wait for. You can go take a look at it. And it's notable that you don't need security or E5 licensing to do that. So what you do need to do is to connect Sentinel, its primary workspace, with XDR.
Yep.
I'm going to repeat that. Before next summer, so it says July 26, you will be redirected from the Sentinel portal in Azure back into XDR. You will still be able to go into Azure and manage the workspace and manage all the settings under the hood, create playbooks, deal with your connectors, deal with data transformations from external log sources and all the stuff we talked about. That will not go away, and I don't think it will ever go away. And I think Sentinel is a perfect, or the workspace, I'm going to use that term, is a perfect companion as a back-end companion to XDR.
Gotcha.
The interface and the workflows. So you see everything is showing up in the same portal. All the portals, all the admin portals are shaping into the same. So the XDR portal that I just showed you, we didn't go through everything there, but you have all the exposure management, investigation, threat intelligence, Sentinel, identities, endpoints, email, cloud apps, cases. Yes, it has a case management system in XDR. It's all there. So that's the single pane approach that Microsoft is taking here. Again, I'm mentioning Security Copilot. There are 2-3 options for, I want to say, SIEM support. I can put that in here, Ken. Security Copilot is one of them that you drive yourself, and of course you pay for yourself. All of them are paid. You also have security experts from Microsoft that you can subscribe to. And you can also subscribe to, of course, a managed SIEM environment from managed service providers like ourselves or Microsoft or others, without pointing something out. Advanced hunting and analytics. So again, you can do the portal and you can do all the queries with or without the Security Copilot assistance. What you will see is that some of the queries that you run in Sentinel today, like the example of the stored query that I had that showed a incident from Sentinel, it needs to be rewritten so that it is executed within XDR. So if you have heavy customization into Sentinel, you'll have some more work. If you don't, then there is very little to do. The summary rule, it's not something I haven't been able to play with yet, but it really allows you to take a very high volume of logs into simpler tables for analysis. So it's more of a data sifting tool or data sifting ability that XDR has in place. I told you already that the fusion engine from Sentinel is being taken over by the XDR correlation engine. I don't think it has a fancy name. It's probably just the XDR engine. But anyway, what we see how it works and what it pulls in, it pulls in deeper pockets of data into whatever it calls an incident. Deeper pockets, as in the operator can quickly go to a bottom or go to an endpoint, go to a user action, go to a process, than what was capable in Sentinel. And because of that, we'll have this information available to use in automation, for example. So if I see that a domain controller is running a process with a certain ID, I can lock the account that executed it. I can I don't want to reboot the domain controller, but I can take automatic action based on a finding on a deeper level with XDR.
Awesome. So the key benefits of this really are the unified incident queue, the centralized hunting, and then the streamlined access, which is definitely going to be a time saver there.
Yes.
All right. So there's some things to take note though as this starts playing out, right? How to prepare for it. So talk to us a little bit about planning and prep.
Yes. So some of this, you're going to need some of the material that is linked at the end of the presentation. Presenting all of that material here wouldn't make sense. So some of the prerequisites. Literally, if you have a tenant and you have Sentinel running, the prerequisite is to connect them. There's nothing heavy lifting from a technical perspective. Also, if you already have an environment where you send logs to Sentinel and you connect XDR, you aren't duplicating logs. Now, there is one exception to that, to my knowledge, and I'm going to call it out here. The connector for Defender for Cloud, it has two connectors out there. One is a tenant-wide, and the other one is the subscription-based Defender for Cloud connector. You need to pay attention when you connect the subscription-based one, because it might already be connected to the primary workspace, and it's connectable from Defender XDR. The reason it's connectable is that you can run XDR without a Sentinel workspace in a very let's say you only have Office 365, you don't have anything else, you're cloud only, Office 365. Maybe you have a database, a PaaS database sitting in Azure. You can turn on Defender for Cloud, and then you can pull that directly into XDR, right? Now, if you have that already set up to go to Sentinel and you also pull it into XDR, you're duplicating the data. Now you're actually getting charged for that ingress. So it's a small thing, but if you have a large environment with a Defender for Cloud, maybe your on-prem environment is in there, that might be a big bang if you do that. So you have to be careful with that. There are some policies for data processing and data storage. You need to be aware of that, and you need to of course, choose your primary workspace. So the configuration of multi-tenancy doesn't apply to most of our customers. This is for MSPs and lighthouse integrations of Sentinel. And of course, we want everything onboarded via Defender devices, for example. We want that. Some of the changes in features, analytic rules. So if I write analytic rules for Sentinel data, and you want that analytic rule to now live in XDR, you might have to rewrite it. You might have to change table names to make that rule run. There is not a migration factory or function in here, so that's going to be a one-to-one. So you might have to do some homework there. Playbooks, you can make a choice to keep your playbooks in Sentinel, or you can migrate them into XDR. If you do I want this all in XDR, then there might be some again matching to tables and that needs to happen before they run properly. Yeah. The alert correlation and incident merging is handled by Defender XDR. This is not going to be visible for you as long as you have the primary workspace connected into Defender XDR. It's going to be seamless how that incident correlation is happening. So it's not like one day you're going to, when you have this connected, when you have XDR integrated, it's not going to stop correlating, if that makes sense.
Yep, I think so.
Yeah. So legacy connectors and rely on Defender XDR connector for incident sync. What that means is that we do have some legacy Office 365 connectors out there that we don't need anymore because they are directly pulled in from the Office 365 tenancy itself. Again, using the links that is in the documentation here, you'll find information about each of these connectors and how to deal with it. Of course, if you need help with any of this, you know where to find us. Automation rules, same as with queries, same as with playbooks. If they have specific settings that addresses things in Sentinel specifically, it needs to be updated. And then now with XDR, there is a wider support using Graph API for automation and actions out of the SIEM function. Last but not least important, make sure your SOC team gets to access XDR and get to play around with it. I think the only thing I'm going to add to that is let's make sure we all get that all telemetry into a primary workspace type of mentality. It's better at the end of the day.
Makes sense.
So real quick at the tail end of this, begin early. Make sure all your teams knows about this and gets used to running XDR. Pull the queries, playbooks, workbooks, watch list, whatnot into XDR. Make sure they are ran and tested, modified as needed in XDR before July. I think putting all your SOC operations towards XDR now than later is a good choice. The optimization of workspace design. My recommendation is always going to be use a primary workspace. Real quick, the mention of this large customer we did, we had 100 terabytes of telemetry going in per day in a primary workspace. So size is not an issue here. Pilot migration. You can, of course, play with data and connect a random or test or a secondary workspace to XDR to understand what happens with it. So if you have a workspace, a logic workspace already today with Sentinel, not your primary Sentinel, you can pull that into XDR and run scripts and queries and to understand how things are working and differences in the UI. So I would start doing that as soon as you can. Automation, revise all automation, make sure they are still functional in XDR. and look to upgrade them to use the Graph APIs going forward. Then, of course, the last one here, again, important, update documentation and training to reflect the XDR portal with its workflows and its features.
Perfect. And you've given us some nice URLs to check out, which will be submitted, afterward. If you registered for this, or if you know folks that couldn't make it today, if they registered, or you can pass it on to them. Obviously, these links are great and help you get started there. And we had a couple questions that came in. I don't know if those folks are still on the line, but I figured we can go ahead and try to work on these real quick. We only have a couple minutes here. The question was, were you going to be talking about advanced threat protection and creating tags, documents, emails, data, so that I can tag it as confidential and stay within my Azure network, removes save as, removes sniffing tool, removes camera, SharePoint print, that kind of thing. What would you do to how to do that, Karsten? I know it wasn't exactly on target to what's today's topic, but we get questions. It's fine to submit questions like this as well.
Okay, so my brain went straight to Purview and use data labels for documents and emails, Team, SharePoint, OneDrive, and then apply either labels manually or automated based on content or users or location. But then also put in place some of the data rights management abilities, such as preventing save as or snipping tool or camera or honest sharing. So my mind went really to the Purview compliance portal. It's a technology question, and if I'm running AVD, for example, there is other ways to prevent the same, like not allowing a camera, for example, or print.
Gotcha.
So the question is a little bit wide to give just one answer.
If you'd like a follow-up, just reach out to us, and we'll work with you one-on-one on that question. The other last question we had that was submitted in advance is, how does this, what the topic was today, how is this different than the last iteration of Defender, and how does it tie into the overall M365 G5 GCC ecosystem? Kind of a wide question here.
That is it's a great question. So I do want to say that Defender itself, or the security.microsoft.us or .com, hasn't changed much, but it now fully incorporates Sentinel into the Defender portal. So that's one, right? The overall tie-in to the ecosystem is that XDR just expanded ginormously with the Sentinel integration. Again, with the G5 licensing, you have access to all the security bells and whistles in the Microsoft ecosystem. So now it's time you make sure all of them are turned on.
Great answer. Yeah. It's amazing how many times I see certain things like Defender for Identity, if they have on-premise AD and they don't even have it turned on and they buy in G5, right? So yeah, if you want to have a license review, we're happy to go through that with you all. Let us know, reach out to us. We can talk about what's all included in your licenses. We're going to wrap up now. Our next office hours is on 8/28. Still, if you have some questions, go ahead and put them in the chat window or raise your hand as I wrap up things here at 1 o'clock. So it's always the fourth Thursday of every month. As you saw today, the Cloud Office Hours is part of the You Already Own It program. If you've not been onboarded to that and you don't know what all your benefits are, it's real simple. There's monthly benefits like this webinar that we do. We write a blog. There's actually a blog posted on this exact topic, a very streamlined blog to go over about today's topic. So if you haven't looked at that, please check that out. And then obviously ask you anything questions. You can ask us anytime just by sending to YouAlreadyOwnIt at go-planet.com. And then the other big part of this is we have about 23 different workshops that are part of the program. These are all free, no cost, right? This is all about investing in our relationship, working together. We want to make sure that you're getting all the value out of your Microsoft licensing that you can. And so we offer these as free of charge, one-on-one with you. If you are interested in any of these topics, please reach out to us, or please reach out to, again, that You Already Own It email, or Kim Snyder, your account executive, or your cloud strategist. Would be happy to set up these one-on-one conversations with you all. Two that I want to highlight, if you haven't This is somewhat related to obviously today's topic, the endpoint management and security, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint and Intune. If you're thinking about, starting to use more of your capabilities in the licensing to manage your endpoints, this is a great way to get started. 2 hours, we'll go over it. I think, Karsten, you do some of these, and as well as some of your other folks. Karsten specifically does this topic, though. This is another workshop, which is exactly what today's topic is all about. So if you want to know more about SIEM plus XDR, Defender, and Sentinel, we can certainly spend some time with you in going over this same topic that we did today, one-on-one. Please reach out to us. Would love to hear how we did today. Please, give us a rating on one scale of 1 to 5. We appreciate your feedback. So we had a question come in. Karsten says, do these changes apply to GCC High? About the topic today. I assume they do.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it does. I replied to these. So the next one
perfect.
is, the first one was someone had asked capabilities that would be disappearing from XDR. I think the only thing disappearing here is the direct access to the Sentinel portal.
Right.
All the other functionality is going to be migrated into XDR over time. Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe the last mention there is you still need to manage your retention and your data tiers, right?
Makes sense.
In the log analytics environment. The last one, KQL query storing query packs. I believe they are still available in XDR. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for asking those questions. That's a wrap. I want to thank Karsten and, of course, all of you for joining us today. Thank you for this insightful session on XDR and Sentinel, a roadmap to unified security operations. We hope you found this information valuable and that it'll help you navigate the transition to a unified security platform with confidence. Today, we covered the key items to be aware about transitioning to Unified XDR, explored the new capabilities of Defender XDR, and provided an overview of the migration planning that you need to be aware of. As you continue to evolve your cybersecurity strategies, remember that optimizing your security architecture and making informed decisions about your Microsoft security investments are crucial steps towards achieving a robust and unified security operation. One last thing, the shift to unified operations in Microsoft Defender and Sentinel is more than a UI update. It's a strategic opportunity for organizations. Those that prioritize correlation, streamline visibility, and plan for architectural alignment will best be positioned to thrive in this new model. If you have any further questions or need additional support, please don't hesitate to reach out to your account executive, cloud strategist, or to the YouAlreadyOwnIt at go-planet.com address. We're here to help you every step of the way. Thank you again for participation today, and we look forward to seeing you at our next cloud office hours.